Oh, I should have just seen T-Swizzle. After multiple rewrites and reshoots, The Marvels is finally in theaters, and I saw it.
I hurt myself today.
You know it's bad. You knew weeks or months ago it was going to be bad. You've seen the headlines by now, but if you're like me, you have a morbid curiosity to find out how bad, and specifically why it's bad. I'm going to assume you've made the wise decision to avoid this dreck, so you won't mind me giving you the spoilers to explain why it's not hyperbole to call this the worst MCU film to date. Let's dive in, but first, if you wouldn't mind just tapping that like button for me, it might even be glowing. That's a cool new feature. Regulars know I like to start positive, so let me just say, once again, theater popcorn is S tier. Yes. Also, in the Midwest, we have a theater chain called Marcus Theaters, and they have plush, padded recliners that nearly put me to sleep, along with this movie. Also, I got this sweet Taylor Swift cup.
She makes me feel things.
She makes all of us feel things.
I've never wanted to draw cat eyes sharp enough to kill anyone, but I think I now understand what it feels like to want that. All right, basic plot description. Kamala Khan is a Captain Marvel fangirl, and Captain Marvel is out in space doing patrol stuff, and Monica Rambeau is at the Saber satellite doing astronaut stuff. Don't worry what she's doing, it's just necessary to have her in space for a minute. Also, wearing a space suit, even though she doesn't need one. But she does have it because Kamala's about to swap places with her. We get introduced as Dar-Benn, who is a female Ronan the Accuser, but more flat and boring than Ronan? I know, I didn't think it was possible either, but here we freaking are. Marvel pulled a Last of Us 2, and we find out that good guy Captain Marvel is actually seen as the bad guy from an off-screen person who was there when she destroyed the Supreme Intelligence. The trio swap places when they use their powers because something about light-based powers, and they touched portals at the exact same moment, except Kamala didn't touch one, but she has a bangle that Dar-Benn found the pair to, so she is included. But they only swap when the script calls for it, so that's cool. We discover that Dar-Benn is actually trying to save the Kree homeworld because there has been a civil war ever since the Supreme Intelligence was destroyed. She's using the bangle to create portals that suck natural resources from planets that are important to Captain Marvel, who the Kree call the Annihilator, and transport them to the Kree world. The civil war caused the atmosphere to be unbreathable, like, okay, probably from explosions, I guess. Also, the water disappeared because of the war. Also, the sun went out because of the war. Our heroes have to learn to work together to defeat She-Ronan, and a portal gets ripped in the space-time continuum, and Rambeau gets trapped on the other side as she fixes it. The end. Plus, some get-ready-for-next-content stuff that I'll get to. Kevin Feige said when you see these three women on screen together, it is chilling. Henry, how would you describe Mr. Feige? Yeah. So the plot is generic garbage, and the movie doesn't follow its own rules. But the biggest issue is that there's no connection to the three main characters. A movie rides on character development and motivation, and these three have none. Kamala comes closest. She's the cute, awestruck teen who is meeting her heroes and has big dreams of being a hero herself. There's something you can kind of grab onto here. Unfortunately, unlike Spider-Man, who has a similar thing, Kamala doesn't really get the growth. She's a side character in the trio the whole time. At first, her reactions are fun, but somewhere around halfway, you're going to get tired of her squealing. Up until that point, she genuinely is the star of the movie. She has the most expression, the most interesting personality, a nice family dynamic that feels genuine. The problem is that she is very much a side character, and a cute sidekick can't carry an entire story. Danvers and Rambeau have a contrived drama because Carol said she'd come back to Earth, but never did, and wasn't there when Monica came back from the blip. This shouldn't be there at all. It never lands ever, but it gets dragged out way too long. You will not feel anything for this strained relationship, or anything when it gets repaired. Danvers says she couldn't come back because she's ashamed that she is the Annihilator, and her arc is about forgiving herself for something we didn't know was wrong until about halfway through the movie. Finally, Rambeau gets zero development. She has no motivation, her powers have no definition, she just turns invisible sometimes and shoots blue power rays. She is a walking, talking plot device. She is also responsible for the many exposition dumps throughout the movie. The whole film is mostly just action sequences with exposition dumps in between. Usually Monica is the one to simply spout off something. Like at the end, glowing hexagons are in space, and she just knows that they are a rip in the continuum, and the other side is another reality. So she says this out loud to the other women / us. The movie knows how dumb things have gotten and how much nothing makes sense. So when Carol asks her how she has powers, she just says, I walk through an electromagnetic field caused by a hex cast by a witch, and Carol shrugs it off, and the movie is hoping you will too. Plenty of stuff like that, where they're trying to explain already dumb plot points, and the delivery is bad. Like, Teyana Paris knows what she's saying is stupid. Paris actually delivers some great acting when she isn't reading some of the worst lines ever written, but I'll tell you who can't act, and that's she, Ronan. Not only is this villain boring, she's poorly acted. The whole movie, she just opens her eyes as wide as they will go, bares her teeth, and growl breathes. Just really awful. Easily the worst part of the movie, including her purple hammer, which you remember Ronan having. There's some member berries for you. Remember when the MCU was fun and enjoyable? Even though the hammer doesn't have an infinity stone, it still glows purple and does what Dar-Benn needs when she needs it. The writing is comically bad, and a lot of what is happening feels like first ideas, and no one was brave enough to say, hey, this is terrible, we need to start over. Mr. Cameron, how would you describe the writing? That's a good way to put it. It is very, very childish. Hey, listen, if I need you again during this review, could you? I'll be around. Thank you. It is the most generic, AI-written, committee-managed, corporate bland crap you've ever seen. This movie is the color beige, perhaps even grayish. This movie is room temperature tap water. This movie is the happy holidays of movies. It says nothing. It makes you feel nothing. I had two predictions about director Nia DaCosta. She would either inject a ton of politics into the movie, like her previous movies, Candyman and Little Woods, or she would be director in name only, while the Marvel committee machine ran the show. It looks like it's the latter. We learn nothing about DaCosta from this movie. In fact, she finished the movie remotely. That tells you how important directors are in the MCU. King Valkyrie makes an appearance in a suit, and this is starting to feel really shallow. Ironheart was introduced in Wakanda Forever, and a lot of people wondered why. She doesn't really fit. Well, it's starting to feel like the MCU is so obsessed with identity politics, it's all they can see. You know how a movie or a show will display like a shallow character, and they don't really know how to interact with a black or a gay person, so they try to set them up on a date with the only other black or gay person they know, and the setup character says something like, did you set me up with them because that's the only other black or gay person that you know? That's how the MCU feels with these cameo characters. This is a female power movie. Valkyrie doesn't really have any reason to be there, but she's the only other woman of color that we know, so she'd be perfect for it. Ironheart doesn't really fit, but the movie is about an African nation, and she is black, so... The dialogue is supposed to be comedic, silly, and wacky, but it's comically bad. If you saw the final trailer, you saw Nick Fury shouting at Monica to fly, and then he shouts, Black Girl Magic! That's the kind of dialogue we're working with here. Black Girl Magic is not a thing any person says aloud. It's something they type. That is not a spoken phrase. That's a hashtag. That's like a person saying LOL out loud. That's not real. Worse still is having 70-year-old Fury say it. That's like when your parents try to tell you that your drip is hot fire, no cap.
How do you do, fellow kids?
Like, he might as well have told her, slay all day, queen.
No one my age says those words in that order.
Oh, the once great Nick Fury continues his downfall. In Secret Invasion, we find out he is a tired old hack, and in this movie, he's a sassy quip machine. After the Black Girl Magic line, Rambeau and Khan are falling to the ground, but they switch at the last minute and Danvers falls to the ground, and Fury is overheard saying, oh, cool, it's just Cap. That's his job in the movie. Say interjections in Sam Jackson voice. We also got a visit to Carol's husband. She has a strategic marriage to BTS member Prince Yan, and on his planet, everyone speaks English, but they sing it. They can't understand you when you talk in English, but if you sing, they can. This is quickly overcome as Yan can speak to them because he is bilingual. You see how this feels like first ideas? These are the bad ideas that you get out of the way while you're warming up. Having their language be English but singing is like Dory speaking whale. which works in a Pixar animation. And dumb stuff happens just for drama, like the villain coming down to the Singing Planet, when she is really there for the water and can, and does, create a portal from the sky. Why even go down? The movie also doesn't follow its own logic. I mentioned earlier the power swaps when it's convenient. No rules are ever really established. This feels like a movie that was shot and tweaked and rewritten multiple times. And what we got is a shambling amalgam of the efforts of all the committee members. And that is exactly what happened. And it shows. Early in the movie, Kamala knows who Dar-Benn is, but has no reason to. Clearly something got cut to explain this. Later in the movie, they're trying to escape, and they have to create a warp portal using the ship's buttons. Except, the whole point of the movie is that ancient Kree used the magic bangles to create all the portals in the universe. They are fixed. Creating more of them is what is disrupting the light powers and causing the universe to be unstable. Something. I don't think anybody really knows. But the Captain Marvel ship can make one with no problem. After they defeat Dar-Benn, the powers simply don't swap anymore. Just because Kamala and Monica test it out, and Kamala makes her power fist things, even though she isn't wearing a bangle. They're floating in space. Silly stuff like this is the result of there not being a singular goal and vision. Disney Marvel doesn't even give a crap at this point either. They just crap this content out and hope that you'll come lap it up. But like all Disney content that is a lead into next content, this movie does tease some tie-ins for future content right at the end. Listen, if you go see this entire movie just to be led into next content by a few scenes at the end, you are... You know what? I don't want to be mean. I'm going to let Henry tell you what you are. Henry, could you... Sucker! Sucker! The very end scene is Kamala recruiting Steinfeld's Hawkeye, and the mid-credit scene has Rambeau in the other world where Beast from the X-Men is. Doesn't that excite you and restore trust in the franchise that they're finally hinting at possibly doing something with the X-Men, maybe at some undetermined point in the future? Obviously, skip this. It's not worth your time. Maybe rent it or wait for Disney Plus, but even then, it might not be worth your time. Have you seen it? What did you think? What X-Men story do you think they're going to tell? I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.